So the types of angles that we're going to talk about at the beginning should be a review for you from middle school. Okay, you've talked about these angles before. The first one are linear pairs. Okay, so if you want to fix your titles on the outside, if you want to cross off supplementary, this is linear pairs. Again, I apologize for putting this upside down. I know, I suck. It's all right. So you can fix that title if you want and label it linear pairs. That way when you open it up, you know what's under there. Okay, so the first thing we have to discuss is the definition of a linear pair. And this are two adjacent. What does it mean to be adjacent? Next to each other, side by side. They are connected. Okay, a linear pair has to be connected. Adjacent angles whose non-common sides form opposite rays. Okay. Linear pairs are what we call supplementary. Does anybody remember what the word supplementary means? It has something to do with the total amount of the angles. They equal 180. Good. The word supplementary means the two angles equal 180. So if you need to put that here, equals 180.
Which way? Never mind. I found it.
Okay. So they're supplementary, which means they equal 180.
Hey, you scoot up some?
Scoot what? That's it. That's the top of the page. You're not missing nothing. It's all there, I promise. Okay. So they equal 180. So you may see this in picture form, which is what you see right below it. If the two angles are supplementary, which means they equal 180, they're going to form a straight line when they're put together. So when you have two angles that form a straight line, you set them equal to 180. 112 plus x equals 180. The two angles together should always equal 180. Now I need to get x by itself. How do I do that? Subtract 112.
How would you subtract 112? 112 ain't doing nothing.
When I subtract 112, what value of x makes this a linear pair? 68. So that means this angle here is 68 degrees. You may also see this in word form. Again, I'm big on drawing the picture. A lot of you are visual learners and you can grasp concepts better if you have a picture that represents it. Unfortunately, that's what you're going to see all over your NCFE at the end of this. Okay. You've got to learn to deal with the word problems. You've got to learn to rip them apart. So, two angles form a linear pair. So, you've got two angles that form a linear pair, which means they have to create a straight line. And to make them into two angles, just draw yourself a ray. Okay, that splits it into two angles. It says the measure of one angle is 3 times the measure of the other. So if I tell you that this angle is x, and you know the other angle is 3 times that, how do I write that? 3x. So if one angle is x and the other one's 3 times that, that means this angle is 3x. Again, they form a linear pair, so they're equal to 180. So we add them together and set them equal to 180. 3x plus x equals 180. How do I solve this one now? What's my first step? Combine like terms. I've got two x's on the left-hand side, so they are going to go together to give me 4x. Good. Now, Stefan, how do I get x by itself? Your name not Stefan. Stefan. How do I get rid of this 4? Divide it. Fantastic. You get what? 45. 45. So it says find the measure of each angle. Well, if x is 45, that means this angle is 45. What's the other angle?
135.
135. Good. This angle is 3 times x. So 3 times 45 makes it 135 degrees. Really? Promise.
I promise. I want to turn that lane. When I take off, I go to the moon.
Questions on linear pairs? Okay, the next set. And again, if you want to change your title on the outside, instead of the saying complementary, this should say vertical angles. Okay, the outside of this should say vertical angles.
You heard me. Ain't that right?
Okay, so if you open this one up, again, we need to talk about definition first. Vertical angles are two angles whose side forms two pairs of congruent rays. ENT. Or a pair of non-adjacent angles formed by the two intersecting lines.
What's that thing?
Congruent. Okay, so anytime you see vertical angles, it's going to be two lines that cross at some point. Okay. Your vertical angles will always be congruent. If they're congruent, they're what? Equal. Okay. I totally spelled congruent wrong. Oops, there should be a U here. Okay, your vertical angles are congruent. How I remember vertical angles in a picture. Look at what this creates. A V and a V. Okay, so it creates this X, and then across the V's are your vertical angles. So X and 72 are vertical angles, and your blank angles here are also vertical angles. So if they're across that V, they're vertical angles. Okay, if vertical angles are congruent, we set them equal to each other. So this picture here should be X equals 72 degrees. Okay. In the word problem below, it says angle ABC and angle DBE are vertical angles. Find the measure of the angles if the measure of angle ABC is 7x minus 8 and the measure of angle DBE is 5x plus 10. Again, we know they're vertical angles, so we know that they're what? Congruent. So they're equal, so we set them equal to each other and solve. So 7x minus 8 equals 5x plus 10. What step would you like to take first? Add 8 to both sides. Okay, so Sienna wants to take the numbers to the other side. So I'm going to draw that line because some of you need that visualization. So on the left, we've got 7x. On the right, we have 5x plus 18.
I believe we can subtract.
Okay. I believe you are correct, Marlon. Marlon says I need to move the x's to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 5. That leaves me with 2x equals 18.
X equals 9.
X equals 9. We divide both sides by 2, so x equals 9. Okay. It says, though, find the measure of the angles. We know what x is. We can now find the measure of the angles. So the first angle is 7 times x, which is now 9, minus 8. You said 55? Yeah. Okay. Your second angle is 5 times x, which we know is 9, plus 10. This should also equal 55. Remember, these are vertical angles, which makes them congruent. So when you plug in 9, both answers should come out to be the same. If they do not, you did something wrong. Go back and look again.
You know what I do when I see word problems? Skip it.
You're going to skip your whole final then and take a 0 because your entire final will guarantee you is word problems. We don't do them just for fun, just to torture you. We do them for practice.
Elementary.
Okay. All right. In the bottom, if you want to flip this title up, actually, let's just do both of these at once. So this is going to be complementary angles. And the other side should be supplementary angles. So if you would like to fix those titles, please go ahead and do so. Complementary and supplementary. So you already told me that supplementary should equal 180. If supplementary equal 180, what does complementary equal? No, 90. Okay, you've got complementary angles and supplementary angles. Complementary always add up to equal 90. Supplementary always add up to equal 180. So if you open this up on the left-hand side, complementary angles are two angles with a sum of 90 degrees. It also says that these angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. So they can be connected or they can be separate. As long as the two angles add up to equal 90, they are considered complementary angles, whether they're grouped together or whether they're two separate pictures. So again, if they're complementary, when you add them together, they should equal 90. So we add them together. 15 plus x equals 90. So how do I find x? Subtract your 15. So x equals?
No.
It's 90 minus 15. 75. Okay. So that other angle that gets paired with 15 is going to be 75 to make it complementary.
This one's going to be 60.
Okay. Down at the bottom, they tell you that angle LMN and PQR are complementary angles. So again, as soon as you see complementary, they add up to equal 90. Okay. They tell you the angle of LMN is 4x minus 2, and the measure of angle PQR is 9x plus 1. So these two added together should equal 90. So when my equation looks like this, what's the first thing we should do? Combine your like terms. So when I put my x's together, that gives me what? 13x.
13, yeah.
When I put my numbers together, -1. Stefan, turn around and pay attention, please. Okay. So when I combine like terms, we're left with 13x minus 1 equals 90. Add 1 to 90 to get rid of this 1 here. So you get 13x equals 91. And divide by 13. So x equals what? 7. Okay. And again, the question's actually asking you what are the measure of the angles. So we need to plug 7 in and get our answers. So the first one is 4 times x. So 4 times 7 minus 2. 26. And the other one is 9 times x. So 9 times 7 plus 1. How do I check myself? Add them together and make sure they equal 90. Fantastic. So 26 and 64, yes, that does add together to equal 90. That is a fantastic way to check yourself. Last set. These ones are supplementary. So you told me they're two angles with a sum of 180. Okay. A linear pair is a special type of supplementary. Linear pair says they have to be stuck together. They have to be side by side. Supplementary angles, though, just in general, do not have to be side by side. They can be two separate angles like the ones you see pictured. So angle A and angle B are supplementary. So when you add them together, they should still equal 180. So x should be 60. Good. This one you can pretty much look at and tell what it should be. X plus 120 equals 180. So you would subtract 120 from both sides. And x equals 60. Facts. Not all of them are going to be that simple. Okay, so you may have to look at it a little bit, like the one at the bottom. The measure of the supplement of an angle is 36 degrees, less than the measure of the angle. Find the measures of the angle. So first off, think about, internalize what it's asking. The measure of the supplement of an angle is 36 degrees less than the measure of the angle. So give me a variable for the angle. Any variable you want.
V.
V. Okay. So we've got some angle. Some angle, and this angle is V. Then we've got some other angle. Okay. It says the measure of the supplement of an angle is 36 degrees less. How do I write 36 degrees less? V minus 36. Okay, so one angle is V and one angle is 36 degrees less, which means V minus 36. And again, they're still supplementary, so when you add them together, they should equal 180. So we combine your like terms, and you get 2V minus 36 equals 180. What's next? Add 36 to both sides. You get 2V equals 216. And divide by 2. So V equals 108. 108 degrees. So this angle right here is 108 degrees. Your other angle then is what? It's V minus 36. Well, V is 108. So your actual angle is 72 degrees. Okay. Good. Questions?
No.
Okay. This one is going to glue in, and I need you to pay attention because we're going to glue a little bit weird today. Skip pages 99 and 100. That homework assignment I just collected, we're going to cut out and glue in on 99 and 100. This page right here is going to glue in on 101. And again, I apologize up and down because I really figured that out with it not being upside down, and I didn't. I thought I was being super slick when I was making copies.
Y'all like my pants?
Do we like your pants?
No, don't even look at my pants. Because I ain't going to miss more than days. And you look at my pants anyway. I told you not to look.
So good, I'm not gonna be passing. My name gonna be Wall Ball.
Look at this face though.
That adorable face of yours. Don't do the duck lips.
Get all of it.
That's not cute.
Get all of it. I slap my face already.
You can just fold the titles into the middle. So like put the page. So like take it. Fold the titles into the middle.
And they be arguing on the bench. The whole team was.
That's fine. You can still do it. It's probably not cut off the word. The word.
Who's arguing? He need to go to? You know what team he need to go to?
Not having anything on 99 yet.
Sure.
Boy, like you need to
You
know.
said the Cavs, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm not, no, can't do that right now. I don't have time. Don't have time. You need to go back and number your pages, friend.
You need to go to the team that needs a point guard.
Okay, so you are now going to skip page 102 because that's going to be part of your homework assignment tonight. Okay, on page 102, you're going to get this page. So it's very similar to what you did last night for homework.
No, it's not.
Okay, you're going to first cut out all 5 of these pictures and glue them in on page 102. Then you're going to tell me beside it, is it a supplementary angle, complementary angle? What kind of angle is it? You're going to figure out which equation goes with it and what your answer for X is.
Listen, you know what'd be funny?
Okay, what?
If someone just cut all that and glued it right beside each other and thought all that was right.
No, because it's not. Please don't do that.
I know.
That's
That
dumb.
would be funny.
And I guarantee you somebody's going
You're
through it.
nasty. You potato salad.
That is
Okay. The next page we're going to do is this one. All you need to do is fold it in half so the titles are on the outside.
Wait, huh? Oh.
Fold it in half.
Do I cut it?
So the titles, and you can cut along that dotted line and make 2 flaps for yourself.
Right, this hard paper.
You said skip 102.
Yes, that's going to be part of your homework assignment tonight. So the page we're doing right now is going to glue in on 103.
That's what I ain't gonna write out today. Really?
And I got all the drugs in the world I can get. It's stuck. It's stuck.
Yeah.
Get it out.
Hey, these theorems should look very familiar. We did them yesterday, but we talked about segments. This time it's the same idea, but we're talking about angles. So the first one is the angle addition. Okay, just like the segment addition yesterday, where it says if I take the 2 smaller pieces and add them together, it equals my big piece. Well, guess what? That's the same thing that's happening here. It says if the measure of HIK, which is this angle right here, okay, this angle on the inside, it says if that angle is added to this angle right here, this smaller angle, that should equal the measure of this big angle here. Okay, so the two smaller angles on the inside should add up to equal the big angle on the outside. Okay, we've got one example that goes along with this definition. Okay, again, I'm big on filling in the information on the picture. I like to visualize what is happening. So if you are a visual learner, I need you to do this with me. If you're not, try it anyway and see if it makes more sense to you. So this says, if the measure of angle AOC, follow the letters they give you. So AOC is the big angle on the outside. So this whole thing is equal to 70 degrees. The whole thing. Then it tells you the measure of angle AOB. So AOB, this smaller angle on the inside, is 1/2 2x plus 20. Okay, so that one small angle on the inside is equal to 1/2 of 2x plus 20. And the measure of angle BOC. So BOC, this other small angle is equal to x. Okay, just x. That's what it tells you. Just x. Okay, so we're going to find all of these things given this information. Well, my angle addition postulate tells me if I take these two smaller ones and add them together, it should equal my big one. So my first small one is 1/2 times 2x plus 20. So that's my first small angle. It says if I add that to my second small angle, which is x, that should equal my big angle, which they told you is 70 degrees. What's my first step to getting x by itself? Distribute my 1/2. When I distribute that 1/2, what's half of 2x? Just x. Okay, so if I distribute this 1/2 here, I have x. If I take it and distribute it to the 20, I've got 10. Okay, nothing else changes. So this x comes down and my 70 comes down. Okay, now what? Like terms. You've got these two x's on the left. They're alike, so they go together. 2x plus 10 equals 70. Now what? Subtract 10, so we get 2x equals 60. Good.
And x is 30.
Good. Divide by 2, and x equals 30. So that's your first fill in the blank. X is 30. If x is 30, if you look at BOC, BOC is just x. So the measure of angle BOC is 30 degrees. What is the measure of angle AOB? This one we've got to do a little bit of work. So it's 1/2 of 2 times x, which is 30, plus 20. So 2 times 30 is what? 60 plus 20. 80. So what is 1/2? So again, basic math skills is just a little bit of extra work that you all hate to do. Okay.
Oh, goodness, knockout.
Okay, we need to talk about an angle bisector. An angle bisector. Okay, just like a segment bisector, it cuts the segment in half. Well, an angle bisector cuts the angle in half. So what that does is it tells me that angle WXZ, which is what I just drew that little V in, that first angle should be equal to angle ZXY. When I've got something that bisects it, the two angles are the same. They are congruent, which means they are also equal. Okay, so let's jump over to this example. It says FG, right? FG bisects angle EFH. So what two angles are congruent then, if that happens? If FG bisects angle EFH, what angles are congruent? You said what? EFG and GFH. Good. If this line comes through and it bisects, that means that this angle right here and this angle right here are the same. So it then tells me angle EFH, this big angle on the outside. Okay. This bisects it, so these two pieces are equal. GFH, this little angle in here, is 1/2 10x minus 20. It then tells me EFG is equal to 3x plus 25. Okay, so it gives me the two smaller angles. And because we know that FG has bisected this, and we also know that the angles are equal, we can set them equal to each other to start solving. So 3x plus 25 equals 1/2 times 10x minus 20. What's my first step to solving this? Distribute. So nothing changes on the left-hand side. What's half of 10x? 5x. What's half of 20? 10. Dewan, what's the first thing you want to move to get x by itself, friend?
10.
You tell me what you want to move. Pick one. You want to get rid of that 5. Okay? If I want to get rid of that 5, what do I have to do? Subtract it. So Dewan says he wants to get rid of the 5. So that leaves me with negative 2x plus 25 equals negative 10. Okay, Dewan moved the x's to the left, which means my numbers need to move to the right. So Markel, I need to move my numbers to the right. What do I do? Which one needs to move and how do I move it? My x's are on the left. I need to move my numbers with no variables to the right. So what do I need to move? 25. How do I move it? What's opposite of what's there? So if it's plus 25, to move it to the other side, we minus. Fantastic. Okay, so we need to subtract it. So we get negative 2x equals negative 35. Sorry, not 30. 35. My last step then is to divide by negative 2. What does x equal? 17.5. So that's my first blank. Okay, the next thing they want us to find is the measure of GFH. Well, GFH is 1/2 times 10 times my x minus 20. You said 77.5? Yeah. Okay, so this one's 77.5. Again, this is not hard. It's just a lot of steps.
I'll go to the bathroom.
We still got more to do yet. That one's not going to take us long at all. Measure of angle EFG. Well, we know EFG is 3x plus 25. So 3 times 17.5 plus 25. This should also be 77.5. Remember, it bisects it, which means those two angles should be congruent. So again, that's a good way to check yourself. Well, how do I find the measure of EFH then? The big one, EFH. Add the two together. So what's 77.5 plus 77.5? 155. Okay. Well, if this section's 155, they want to know what is IFE, this section over here. How do I find that? What does it create altogether?
180.
180. It creates a straight line. So if this part of it's 155, the other part of it's what?
25.
25 degrees. Fantastic. Okay, so that one kind of put it all together. Okay, again, skip page 102. This glues in on 103.
103. Yo. 103. Yo.
YOLO.
103.
I really gotta use the bathroom.
Stephon, you got like 2 minutes. Go. And I mean go.
No, I'm just kidding. I got you.
Fantastic.
What I'm about to get in.
Okay. If you would like to cut this last page in half, please go ahead and do so now. If not, you can wait till the end and cut it in half. It does not matter to me. But this will cut in half, and it's eventually going to glue in on 105, 104, and 105. Okay? We need to talk about the angles inside of a triangle and an exterior angle of a triangle. It's all about the angles today. Angles, angles, angles.
Reading rainbow. I used to love that shit.
I always hated it.
Reading Rainbow? That used to be
Right. You know you don't want to say that.
You know
Oh,
you
you
don't
like all coloring your nails in white out. Oh, Lord, come on. She's crazy, Mama.
That's my sister. Don't be crazy.
That's your sister?
Yep.
This going 102, right?
No, skip 102. That's home.
103.
103. 103. Friends.
Yep.
That's my friends I got on Facebook. 103. Trash, bro.
Okay. So, a triangle is a what-sided figure? Three-sided figure. So, if there are three sides, you have three angles. Angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. Bless you. Okay, so your triangle sum theorem states that for triangle ABC, if you would add up angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3, they should equal 180 degrees. Okay, so the sum of the angles inside of a triangle should always equal 180. Okay, so you've got that fantabulous equilateral triangle. Equilateral triangles are also equal angular, which means all of your angles are the same. So you've got 60, 60, and 60, because they have to total out to be 180. Okay. What about an isosceles triangle? What's an isosceles?
It's messed up.
They'll messed up the one that stretched out. Like the ones that look like they stretched out, right?
That's the scalene that you're thinking of. The scalene triangles where all three sides are different. And isosceles is where you have two sides that are the same and one side that is different. Good. So, if your triangle theorem states that if you add up all three sides and they equal to 180, if they give you two angles, you should be able to find the third. So, they're giving me that 77 and 54 are these two angles. They want to know what the measure of angle Y is. Well, what do these two angles add up to? What's 77 plus 54? 131. Okay, well, if those two angles are 131, and that third angle should take me to 180, how do I find that third angle? Just subtract it. 180 minus 131 gives me 49.
49.
So my missing angle that goes right here is 49 degrees.
49.
Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, they give me E is 115 and D is 26. So far I have 115 and 26, which gives me 141, which means my last missing angle is 39 degrees.
38.
Okay. The ones that are going to seem to stress you all out because you're like, oh my God, there's a variable, help me. No, not that bad. Again, all three angles added together should equal 180. So set it up the way you know it. I know that angle S, which is 7x, plus angle T, which is 4x plus 5, plus angle U, which is 6x plus 5, should equal 180. It's a lot of stuff. Okay, so it leaves a lot of room to make mistakes. You need to make sure that you're copying stuff correctly. Okay. We've got to combine like terms first. So I've got 7x, 4x, and 6x. 17x. Good, Trevor. 17x. You've got 5 and 5. 10 equals 180. Deja, what's my next step to getting x by itself if I have 17x plus 10 equals 180? I need x by itself. So what should I get rid of first?
10.
Which one does not have an x attached? So get rid of the 10. Okay. 17x equals 170.
X equals 10.
Edwin, what's my last step? Need to get x by itself. What do I need to do?
Oh.
Come on. What's with my x?
I think you want to jump.
It's on the left with 17. 17x. How do I get rid of that 17?
Divide.
What is happening if it's just 17 next to x? Okay, that's multiplication, so we need to divide.
I just said that.
Okay, was I talking to you? Please stop being rude. I'm trying to make sure everybody's on the same page here. We need to divide by 17, which means x equals what, Marlon? 10. Okay, x equals 10. If they asked you to go back and find the measure of each angle, what would you do? Okay, plug it all in. So S is 7 times X. So what's 7 times 10? 70. S is 70. T is 4 times x. So 4 times 10 plus 5, which makes t 45. And u is 6 times x. So 6 times 10 plus 5, 65. Okay. So again, it's not that it's super hard, it's super long. Okay? Same thing with number 4. They give you 3 angles, add them together, set them equal to 180. So 26x plus 12x plus 2 plus 6x plus 2 equals 180. When I combine like terms, Christian, what does that give me for x? You've got 26, 12, and 6. 44, man. 44x plus 4. Good. You've got a 2 here and a 2 here. And that's equal to 180. Okay? Subtract 4. 44 equals 176. Divide by 44. What does x equal? You said 4? It is 4.
Oh.
X is 4. So if x is 4, k is 26 times 4. Okay? If x is 4, that means j is 12 times 4 plus 2. 50. And that means L is 6 times 4 plus 2. 26 degrees. Fantabulous.
All these assassins.
Okay. We've got one more theorem to talk about and 2 examples to go with it, and we are finished. These are going to glue in. That one we just did will go in on 104, and this one we're going to do is going to go in on 105. Okay, we talked about the angles inside of a triangle. We need to talk about the angles on the outside. So this is called the exterior angle theorem, and it states that the measure of an exterior angle is equal to the sum of its remote interior angles. Well, what in the world does that mean?
A lot.
I throw all these fancy mathematical words at you and you're like, huh? Say what?
I know remote.
Want to repeat that?
Like...
So, if I'm trying to find the angle on the outside, which is angle 4, okay, that's the one on the outside, I need to add the 2 remote interior angles, which are going to be the ones that aren't attached to 4. So angle 2 and angle 1. So angle 1 plus angle 2 should equal angle 4. So the 2 angles that are not attached to the angle I'm trying to find, if you add them together, they should equal that outside angle. So if you go down to number 1, what are your remote interior angles? Okay, your remote interior angles are angle B and angle A. These 2 added together, so 58 plus 74 equals what? 132. So that means that this angle right here is 132 degrees because we added up the measure of your interior. So that is angle BCD. Notice we label angles by 3 letters, B, C, D. Okay, so if we know that BCD is 132, They want to know what is ACB? What is this third angle right here? How do I figure that out? It's good. They should add up to equal 180. So 180 minus 132 gives me 46. No, 48.
Yeah. Sorry.
He says, sorry. 48 degrees. This should be equal to 48. Okay. All right. Number 2. If I want to get that outside, that exterior angle, what do I need to put together? G and F. This angle and this angle. So 103 plus 51 equals what? 154. So this big angle here is 154. If that's 154, then this other angle is what? 26.
We're done.
Okay. Any questions on any of the angle theorems we've talked about today? I know I just threw a lot at you.
Oh, my brain.
Oh, your brain. It's going to explode. Blech.
It is.
I think we should have a free day. Because my brain.
I hope we don't have homework.